Dear conference participants, good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. Let me cordially welcome you in the premises of Management Development Institute of Singapore in Tashkent. We are happy to host International Tourism Conference 2014 at our premises. Today, in fact, we'll open up the first conference devoted to tourism and industry and hospitality management industry at our premises on the topic Contemporary Aspects of Global Tourism Industry and Specific Features of Tourism Development in Uzbekistan. It is widely known that international tourism plays a crucial role in economic development of many countries. Particularly in Uzbekistan, tourism turns into a substantial part of the economy. For the purpose of consistent development of tourism infrastructure in the country, new modern hotels, recreation facilities have been built, and provided services are dramatically improving. It creates extensive and favorable conditions for expanding cooperation with foreign partners. Large-scale reforms implemented in the development of all directions of tourism services, including hotel industry, no doubt serve to further growth of the economy and well-being of people. However, there's a lot more to be done. And one of the efficient ways for greater achievements is to accumulate and disseminate knowledge through scientific framework, which is in fact one of the goals of this conference. For instance, Singapore itself today became number 5 destination in Asia, surpassing such countries as India, Japan, Indonesia. There's apparently a know-how and expertise that can be gained from our Singaporean parents. On its turn, MDIS Tashkent recognizes the importance of preparing young professionals for tourism sector, which certainly will contribute for its further acceleration. In the beginning of this month, the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Islam Karimov, during his speech at the opening ceremony of the 99th session of the Executive Council of United Nations World Tourism Organization, stated several factors that would contribute to further development of the sector, and in particular, the issues of training and retraining of highly qualified personnel for the industry as one of the key and deciding factors for development of tourism sector. Currently, with deep understanding of this importance, MDIS Tashkent is aiming to prepare students to become world-class professionals in this area. In addition, our institution, as part of its long-term development policy, is building up a professional capacity in research and consultancy in all spheres of its competency, including this field. This is a crucial mission of the Institute, beside the main role of providing world-class education to our young professionals, to our young generations. In ensuring the success of this mission, and in anticipation of its further growth, Research and Consultancy Unit was set up within the institution with plans to solicit funding from large commercial and industrial organizations that are looking for assistance in their market research, data collection, as well as consultancy in elaborating strategic directions. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we hope that during conference, academia and business representatives will deliver and at the same time gain the valuable knowledge by sharing their findings with the invited guests, faculty members, and fellow students. Through the exchange of ideas and the feedback received, participants will improve their knowledge and research findings that may turn into international publications tomorrow. Moreover, the event provides the junior year students opportunity to present their research work in the real conference setting and grants them with a chance to gain experience in the professional environment. We do hope that the speakers, invited guests, and observers will find this conference valuable, will be able to fully discuss and exchange ideas in an open, amicable, and collaborative environment. We do hope that you will be able to join our forthcoming events that are being held at MDIS Tashkent. Thank you very much. present the next speaker with his welcoming speech. Professor Stephen Jones, representative of Bangor University, which has a tourism faculty at the premises of MDIS Tashkent. Please, Mr. Professor Jones.
As we say in Welsh. Good morning. Let me also say one or two more words in Welsh, because Wales is very proud of its culture and its history. So I bring greetings to you from Wales, and I say llongyfarchiadau. Congratulations on holding this tourism conference. It turns out there are many similarities between Uzbekistan and Wales. Wales, if you don't know quite where it is a small country of less than 3 million people. But it has many similarities. We have strong culture, like Uzbekistan, a tradition of history and scenery. So there are many common challenges that we face in developing a tourism industry. One of the biggest challenges that Wales has faced is how to spread tourism across all parts of the country and also across all times of the year. So I'm sure you will also face some of those challenges, and all the time to add value, to move the tourism offering higher up the value chain, higher quality, higher service, and by extension, higher price and higher profit. So the challenges are great, but so are the opportunities. Wales has adapted from just being beautiful scenery to using the scenery in many different ways. Perhaps there are lessons for Uzbekistan. Sports tourism, eco-tourism, sustainable tourism. And Uzbekistan has an opportunity to build those things in very early into your development of tourism. So again, I congratulate you on this tourism conference. I wish you success. And as has already been said, Bangor University with MDIS Tashkent has just started this year a new undergraduate program in tourism and hospitality. This is a great opportunity for students here. I'm sure that MDIS Tashkent will be maximising awareness of this new degree. We look forward to the number of students growing and to developing further. We already have in our partnership some degrees in banking and accounting. But in closing, let me again extend a welcome to come to Wales. In Welsh we say, Croeso I Gymru, welcome to Wales. Best wishes for your conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Jones. With your permission, we will continue with keynote presentations with Carol Pillai, Head of Tourism School, Hospitality and Management Development of Singapore. She will present on economic impact of tourism and investment on employment in Singapore. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carol, and I'm presenting on economic impact of tourism on investment and employment in Singapore. Now, why do we look at tourism? Why does tourism matter? Tourism actually gives up 9% contributes to 9% of GDP to the world, and in every 11 jobs, one of the jobs comes from the tourism industry. It also contributes 1.3 trillion in exports, and 6% of these are from the world's export, and 6% of the exports comes from the least developed countries. So Association in 2009, these are the industries that are part of the tourism industry. Okay, it comprises of site attractions, sports and arena, sports events, hotels, airlines, retail, restaurants, and mines. Mines is meetings, incentive, convention, and exhibition industry. So in 2013, the international visitor arrivals in Singapore is 15.5 million, up from 7.2 million, up 7.2% from 2012. As you can see, Singapore remains attractive as a destination. Over a 10-year period from 2002 to 2012, tourism receipts grew at a compounded annual growth rate of 10%, with a corresponding growth rate of 6.6% in visitor arrivals. And these are the tourism performance key highlights in Singapore. Okay, Singapore remains an attractive destination with 7.5% increase in international visitors arrivals. Spending grew across most of the travel-related components, and also growth in BT Mines arrivals. BT Mines arrival is business travel and mines. Core tourism industry in Singapore includes our hotels, travel services, attractions, cruise, and BT Mines. Now, how do we define the economic contribution of travel and tourism? Travel and tourism is an important economic activity in most countries around the world. As well as its direct economic impact, the industry has significant indirect and also induced impacts. So over the last 2 decades, travel and tourism has played a more and more important role in the economic development of many countries. Increased travel across the globe has been driven by growth in real incomes, greater amounts of leisure time, improved and highly accessible transportation systems, ongoing globalization of business linkages, including supply chains, highly effective communication systems that facilitate marketing, and a significant number of new tourism services. The direct contribution of travel and tourism to GDP reflects the internal spending on travel and tourism. GDP generated by industries that deal directly with tourism include hotels, travel agents, airlines, and other passenger transport services, as well as the activities of restaurant and leisure industries that deal directly with tourists. It also includes government spending on travel and tourism services directly linked to visitors, such as cultural, which is the museum, or recreational facilities like the national parks. The direct contribution of travel and tourism to GDP is calculated to be consistent with the output as expressed in National Accounting of Tourism, characteristic sectors such as hotels, airlines, airports, leisure, and recreation services that deal directly with tourists. In Singapore, the direct contribution of travel and tourism to GDP was 19.1 billion, which is 5.3% of GDP. This is forecasted to rise by 5.8% to 20.3 billion in 2014. This primarily reflects the economic activity generated by industries such as hotels, travel agents, airlines, and other passenger transport services. However, it includes the activities of the restaurant and leisure industries directly supported by tourists. The direct contribution of travel and tourism to GDP is expected to grow by 3.4% per annum to 28.3 billion, about 5.3% of GDP by 2024. The total contribution of travel and tourism includes wider impacts. That is the indirect and include impacts on and the induced impacts on the economy. The indirect contribution includes the GDP and the jobs supported by travel and tourism investment spending, government collective spending, and domestic purchases of goods and services. And all of these deal directly with the tourists. The induced contributions measures the GDP and jobs supported by the spending of those who are directly or indirectly employed by the travel and tourism industry. So the total contribution of travel and tourism to GDP, including wider effects from investment, the supply chain, and induced income impacts was 39.7 billion in 2013, which is 10.9% of GDP, and is expected to grow by 5.5% to 41.8 billion in 2014. It is forecasted to rise by 3.4% per annum to 58.2 billion by 2024, which is 11% of GDP. Travel and tourism's contribution to investment. Capital investment includes spending by all sectors directly involved in travel and tourism. As more people travel, additional tourism infrastructure is built to service the needs of the tourists. The more visitors go to a destination, the more hotels, restaurants, and ancillary tourism services are needed. The benefits of the travel and tourism-related investment are further multiplied through the economy to the suppliers that support the industry. This also constitutes investment spending by other industry on specific tourism assets such as new visitor accommodation and passenger transport equipment, as well as restaurant and leisure facilities for specific tourism use. In 2011, an estimated of US $650 billion in capital investment, or 4.5% of total global capital investment, was driven by travel and tourism. The bulk of this is related to individual investment in facilities that directly benefit tourists, such as the construction of hotels and resorts. Travel and tourism may also drive infrastructure improvements that benefit local residents and the wider economy in addition to tourists. The development of restaurants, bars, cafes, retail outlets, and other tourism-related businesses can help improve the quality of life for local residents by expanding the choice available to them. Moreover, travel and tourism may help to motivate the development of collective investments in public utilities and transportation infrastructure, including roads, airports, harbors, electricity, sewage, and communication infrastructures. In Singapore, travel and tourism is expected to have attracted capital investment of 16.2 billion in 2013. This is expected to rise by 5.4% in 2014 and again by 6.7% per annum over the next 10 years to 32.6 billion in 2024. Travel and tourism's share of total national investment will rise from 19.7% in 2014 to 22.2% in 2024. Now we look at the travel and tourism's contribution to employment. Travel and tourism is one of the leading job creators in the world. The industry employs more than 98 million people directly, representing over 3% of all employment. With indirect and induced impacts are included, the industry contributes to around 1 in every 11 jobs worldwide, according to the World Economic Forum. Furthermore, the outlook for the industry is relatively positive. Job growth in travel and tourism is forecast to average 1.9% per year over the next decade, compared with 1.2% annual growth forecast for total jobs in the economy. Direct contribution to employment is the number of direct jobs within the travel and tourism industry. This will include employment by hotels, travel agents, airlines, and other passenger transportation services, excluding your commuter services. It also includes the activities of restaurant, leisure industry, directly supported by tourists. Example, in Singapore will be our integrated resorts. Travel and tourism generated 147,000 jobs directly in 2013 in Singapore, which is about 4.3% of total employment. And this is forecasted to grow by 3.8% in 2014 to 152,500 jobs, which is 4.4% of total employment. By 2024, travel and tourism will account for 178,000 jobs directly, an increase of 1.6% per annum over the next 10 years. The total contribution of travel and tourism to employment includes wider effects from investment, the supply chain, and induced income impacts was 295,500 jobs in 2003, which is 8.7% of total employment. This is forecast to rise by 2.5% in 2014 to 303,000 jobs, 8.7% of total employment. By 2024, travel and tourism is forecasted to support 325,000 jobs, which is 8.1% of total employment. This is an increase of 0.7% per annum over the period. So as you can see, the total contribution of travel and tourism to GDP is twice as large as its direct contribution. You can see that the direct contribution is 48.3%, whereas the indirect contribution, which includes the supply chain, investment and government collective spending, is 41.9%, and a further induced contribution of 9.8%. So this is the breakdown of tourism, travel and tourism's total contribution to GDP in 2013 in Singapore. So what are some of our attractions or direct investment and capital investment by the government as well by investors in Singapore? In Singapore, we have attractions like our MDIS Sky Park. Here we have the Sentosa, we have Marina Bay, which is the integrated resorts, and we also have attractions like Universal Studios, our zoo, and also the Merlion Park. We also focus on culture and lifestyle cuisine, and they also continue to enjoy healthy patronage by visitors. These are our new attractions in 2014. 2013 we opened the River Safari, and also other existing attractions were upgraded. Okay, we have in Universal Studios, you have the you have the launch of the Sesame Street space ride at Universal Studio, and there's also an open ocean dive in Resorts World Sentosa as well. We also opened our cruise center, where we have maiden voyages continue to remain healthy in 2013, and 12 ships that made the maiden calls in 2012. They continue to return to Singapore for deployment. So in conclusion, travel and tourism is one of the most important industry in terms of absolute size of employment and output, and industry linkages are strong and widely dispersed. The industry can also drive domestic investment and attract foreign direct investment, as well as create employment, generate income, and provide additional benefits to local residents. That concludes the presentation on economic contribution to tourism.
Thank you very much, Carol, for giving a detailed picture of the influence of tourism on the economic indicators in Singapore. Thank you for a nice presentation. Thank you. Our next keynote speaker, Chairman of Tourism and Hospitality Industry Committee of American Chamber in Uzbekistan, Mr. Kemal Toskul. He will present on ideas to improve hospitality business and conditions in Uzbekistan.
Thank you very much for the nice invitation of the university and this organization, and giving us this opportunity to speak up about our ideas. And as I understand, I do represent the hotels side of the industry, and I would like to give some of my ideas that I see since my arrival to the country. It's been 15 months, and it's personal beliefs of mine that this country needs to follow and continue to grow up in the hospitality industry. So if I can have the presentation, please, on the screen. So, as Carol mentioned, hospitality business, tourism business has a great impact in economies of countries in various aspects, and especially the main part is the tourism organizers, agencies, and the hotels taking the biggest part. And I will touch base in that in a couple of pictures. So this is a little picture. I think it will give you an idea what can be done and where it can be going by generating some tourism activities. The picture on the top right is St. Sofia. Some people call it Hagia Sophia, located in Istanbul. This is Istanbul is a representative of three different empires, Byzantine, Roman, and Ottoman. This property has been used as a church, mosque. Now it's a museum, bringing all the cultures to today's world. And this building is visited by 3.2 million people every year. Going to bottom right picture, the Great Wall in China. And this place is visited by 4 million people every year. Bottom left, Taj Mahal is visited by 2.5 million people every year. So the top left is Registan, where I've been, and I was amazed. I've been one time only, unfortunately up to now, but I'm one of the lucky ones that I've been. It's an amazing place. And this place is visited every year by 160,000 people only. So I'd like to point out if the pleasures of this country, jewels of this country can be presented internationally, especially, Uzbekistan will be able to get more people in, and for location-wise, this country has a great advantage being at the center of the very, very active area. This place is close to all CIS countries as well as Middle East and Far East, and these 160,000 visitors must be improved rapidly, about a couple of million in 5 years' time or so. So this already explains what can be done and what potential Uzbekistan has already. So I just wanted to show these pictures because of them. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is factors affecting development of Uzbekistan tourism. Availability of flights and transportation. And I will keep repeating to talk about this until my departure from this country. I have a contract for a certain period, but I have to repeat myself to be able to wake up some institutions in the country. If I'm bothering anybody, sorry about that. But I have to repeat. In this country, the flight tickets are so very expensive. To go to Istanbul and come back, 2 days tickets, sometimes my company pays $1,300 for me to present a budget sample or something like a business review in Istanbul, where my head office is. It comes back to around $600 in the low season, which is still expensive. From my city where my family lives, Istanbul, to New York, in a normal circumstances, we pay around $650 two ways, which is double distance comparing here to Tashkent. So somehow the government here has to find ways to improve airline facilities with Uzbekistan, between Uzbekistan and other countries. And in one of the meetings lately, I heard one of the representatives of the government was saying improving transportation between Japan and here, which is fantastic news. I hope it will be the same way with the Europe side, because my hotel, the Daman, is receiving many European guests from Spain, from Italy, from Germany, Holland, which shows there is a great potential of tourists remaining there. And I know personally, because of the religious reasons, this country is very, very much attractive for Turkish people as well. And I visited some of those holy places already, which is outstandingly important to some of the people in Turkey. But considering only the flight ticket is about $1,000, it really forces travel agencies, package programs. So this definitely needs to be improved so that this will increase the number of people coming to this country. And if I'm not wrong, it's around 2 million to Uzbekistan number of incoming tourists. So coming to ease of visa and access is another point that I'd like to raise up that can be improved for Uzbekistan. And not only from the eye of one country, but naturally being a host hotel in this town, we are receiving comments from various guests from various countries. And visa is one of the difficult things to come to this country. One of the stoppers to arrange travel and to organize MICE business in this country. I know companies who are in touch with us, who are using the Daman Hotel here. They have been informing since last year and up to now, saying that they had to organize some of their conferences, unfortunately outside of Uzbekistan, like countries Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Georgia, Turkey, who are easing the visas, or you are able to enter without visa to those countries. So meeting organizers mostly choose such countries to visit and to ease attendees of the conferences to travel easy, access easy to countries, which is very, very normal. So visa to be improved here shortly. Investment opportunities for hotel entrepreneurs. This is also very important. I heard, I don't know, it's like a legend of this city. I heard because of the Congress 11 years ago, this city needed so many rooms Uzbekistan. Many hotels were built. Dedeman was a Dorslik hotel, Soviet style, became to Dedeman, then this Radisson came up, international hotel made by ISL, so a great deal of rooms came up for the Congress, and it was enough to organize that Congress 11 years ago. When we look at the hotels now, I only see Hyatt Regency in construction, close to my hotel. Le Méridien left the city, Sheraton left the city, which is a pity situation. So in order to bring, again, MICE business and international congresses, we need to have here some international investments, and therefore investment opportunities to be given to international investors as well as local investors. And this situation should be somehow eased to entrepreneurs, so then we will have more hotels, more capacity of staying, which will allow this city to have more congresses about health, about pharmaceutical activities, tourism, mechanical industry, cars, anything. So this is really important. So what can be done? I mean, if I were one of the parts of this government here, I would definitely support the hotel investors because the hotels even more the cost of renovation. So it is same goes with the new hotel. So if you want to build up a nice hotel which is the international standards, you really need to support these people. So I think that's one of the key needs in Uzbekistan. I hope government considers about this and supports the hotels which are in need of renovation, and also the entrepreneurs who want to open international chains in this country. Customer accessibility for import goods, I already touched base. For some cases, the governmental institutions should support investors, and it will bring a great deal of success to tourism. And tax-friendly environment, that comes to the same situation. For example, in Turkey, we have several taxation opportunities for several sectors. For example, for very basic everyday spendings like bread, we only pay 1% tax because bread is needed by everybody. So such items considered luxury, if you want to buy a new TV, LED, 3D, whatever, that is 18%. And if you want to organize a wedding party in a 5-star hotel, that's also 18%. But if you want to stay in a hotel, and that's accommodation, you have to travel, you have to sell your goods, you have to join a conference. So hotel accommodations are 8%. So there is also support in some taxation cases to the part of industry, which encourages people to travel to Istanbul and Turkey. That's an example from my country. So taxation can be a little bit sacrificed by the government to improve the number of guests visiting Uzbekistan. Going further, human resources and development in Uzbekistan tourism industry, education, more high school and come for both for working and internship opportunities of my hotel. I'm glad to receive them and to be through these institutions. Students are highly qualified, and I should say almost at the international standards, which is encouraging. And I think government again has to invest in hotel and tourism study in this country. So we really need more educational institutions. Education is everything. So if you don't start from there, we will not have anybody, any professionals in the field of hotels and restaurants and travel agencies. Again, I would like to give a little sample from my country. Since the culture is quite close to Uzbekistan, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was not a good thing to work in hotels for ladies in Turkey. Now, I see some of the conservative families in Uzbekistan, they don't like their daughters to be waiter in hotels, which is, I think, I am the one who's supposed to understand this best, because I've seen the same thing many years ago in my country. It's a culture. I remember one of my receptionist colleagues, a lady, crying because she was tipped by a foreign guest. American guest was very happy because of the reception service, tipped $20, and she started crying. Why this guy paid me money? It's culture. It's very, very normal. But to improve this, we really need these universities, hotel high schools, to make this awareness around the country so that people know this is a serious business, and we will have naturally qualified human resources to help them giving nice services in hotels and tourism agencies, touristic agencies, and restaurants. So there is a little community. Wherever I go, I see those guys in my front office. Used to be 3 months ago, 6 months ago in Grand Deal, 10 months ago in International Hotel. So same guys turning around. So we need to improve and increase number of highly qualified hoteliers and tourism industry people. More international brands to educate the industry. What it means, as I touched base, we need, just like Singapore University is investing in professional education, we need more airlines to come in. We need more brands like Hyatt, like Hilton International, like Starwood to come into this country to increase the quality of services here. So it's a natural education through extremely professional companies where you cannot stop. Once they come, they start teaching, and everybody will start learning and apply to their own places, and it will expand. So each professional should be used for a learning point or an opportunity, just like what you do now. Thank you for giving me this chance to speak up honestly, openly, and this is what I can do. And I hope if you give us more chances like this, we will be openly and honestly keep speaking, repeating ourselves, because sometimes it's just a human being. Sometimes we need to repeat things, and Location will bring quality human resources, therefore better service. Accessibility and availability will bring more guests to the country. Investment support, tax and custom aids will bring decent places to stay and more investors to the country. Finally, overall will bring higher income and more employment opportunities to the country. I give you one sample. If Uzbekistan will be able to bring number of people visiting from 2 million to 5 million, each 5 million releases $200 as profit, which means $1 billion. So we are talking real money here. It's on the table. Either we will take it or leave it. So soon we take actions. Soon we will get the profit. And little note I took to myself, there's 7 million Frankfurt, 10 million Istanbul. What is it? We guys keep crying in Istanbul, saying that, oh my God, we only have 10 million guests a year in the city. It's a disaster. We are not happy. Because we believe we should be around 30 to 40 million tourists visiting Istanbul. The reason is we have history, we have different cultures, we have mix of religions staying in the city, lots of attractions, modern part, historical part. It's a great cosmopolitan city, around 16, 17 million population, and we only get 10 million. And guess what? Frankfurt gets 70 million visitors a year. Why? I don't see so many reasons, because the history of Frankfurt is just a German history, classical city, nothing different than the other cities. There is no huge or great deal of attractions, but there is a fantastic MICE organization opportunity there. It's fantastic fair city. So everybody meets there. Therefore, Frankfurt Airport became what is that? What do you call it in airlines? Şefim, ne söylüyordunuz siz bu havaalanlarında uzatmak için? Bir uçuştan diğerine geçmek için ne diyordunuz siz? Aktarma diyorduk değil mi? Extension point. Sorry. Transit point of Europe. One of them. One of them is Amsterdam Schiphol. The other one is Munich. The other one is London. But Frankfurt became the biggest one. So, therefore, better airport, fantastic symposium places, fair places, conference places, accommodation units, all the brands in Frankfurt. So this city is welcoming 70 million a year. So considering 2 million Tashkent receiving a year, sorry, Uzbekistan receiving a year, there is a way to go, and there are millions of dollars on the table, and I'm sure this country has a great potential. I can easily say that after visiting Samarkand, Bukhara, and Khiva, it's the spirit of Silk Road. We've been studying in our secondary school and high school in Turkey, and it really reminds me of the flying carpet, and it's really a big jewel in the middle of Asia. I hope Uzbekistan will improve its potential and its tourism and hotel industry facilities big time. So thank you. I will be glad to answer if you do, ladies and gentlemen, have any questions. I guess everybody happy. Thank you very much, and hope to see you around.
Dear Mr. Osgood, thank you very much. human resources and development tourism industry.
Доброе утро, уважаемые дамы и господа. Я докладываю на русском языке. Очень надеюсь, что перевод будет услышан. Также хотелось бы обратиться к каждому из присутствующих. Меня действительно зовут Александра. И в отеле, который на сегодня называется International, я работаю уже 18 лет. Из них порядка 17 лет занимаюсь тренингом и обучением. Поэтому мне нашлось несколько моментов, с которыми захотелось поделиться с вами. И начать хочу с истории, известной истории. Она произошла в 50-х годах прошлого века. НАСА, все знают, НАСА — это американское космическое агентство. В один из дней в него пришел посетитель, который обратился к человеку, уборщик, он выполнял свою работу в этот момент, обратился к нему с вопросом: чем вы здесь вообще занимаетесь? Вопрос был адресован именно этому уборщику. На что уборщик ответил: я помогаю запустить человека в космос. Вот об этом я и хотела сегодня поговорить, о роли, о том, какой видит сотрудник роль, свою собственную роль в организации, в которой он работает. Мой доклад называется «Человеческие ресурсы и развитие в индустрии туризма». Уже многократно и, казалось бы, известно всем, что кадры решают все. Однако и сегодня мы можем видеть, что реальность по-прежнему такова: владельцы туристического бизнеса и индустрии гостеприимства в целом охотно вкладывают деньги в технологии, современный дизайн, интерьер, во что угодно, но только не в подготовку и выращивание квалифицированных кадров. С развитием индустрии гостеприимства в Узбекистане все больше внимания необходимо уделять качеству обслуживания гостей. Как и во всем мире, по-прежнему основным является человеческий фактор. Эти слова, казалось бы, знакомы всем, но не все понимают, насколько чревато, когда эти самые кадры не подготовлены на должном уровне. Мы с вами знаем, что недостаточно научить сотрудника ресепшн приветливо улыбаться и общаться с гостями, если при этом он допускает технические ошибки в обслуживании гостей и не осознает своей собственной роли, то есть с какой вообще целью его взяли в эту организацию. Показательный пример, когда новый превосходно оборудованный ресторан, разрекламированный всеми современными информационными каналами, мгновенно уничтожает собственную репутацию за счет маленького эпизода, когда гость ресторана видит, что официант после туалета выйдя не помыл руки. Конечно, шок, который испытал, увиденный шок испытал человек, и появилось желание поделиться таким открытием со своими друзьями. Вы знаете, что сегодняшние средства массовой информации, сайты, интернет позволяют это сделать моментально, на раз. Все это полностью убивает всякую надежду на успешность данного заведения в будущем. Сегодня много говорилось о том, действительно, Узбекистан огромный потенциал в туризме. Но для нашей страны пока еще это новое направление. И первым шагом в его развитии будет признать, что многое необходимо сделать. Это уже шаг к тому, чтобы начать движение в этом направлении. Сначала необходимо признать, что нам есть куда расти. Мой предыдущий коллега, предыдущий докладчик, я с ним согласна во многих моментах. И, возможно, вы услышите, что в моем выступлении будет перекликаться с тем, что господин Хожгул уже озвучил. Сегодня Узбекистан известен, это уже отличительная черта узбекистанцев, это гостеприимство и желание как можно приятно сделать пребывание людей в своей стране, в своем доме. Это уже считается наш бренд узбекского народа. Я недавно была в Казахстане, и мне там знакомые говорили, которые бывшие из Узбекистана, говорят, нас вычисляют моментально, потому что, говорят, вы так улыбаетесь, вы, наверное, с Узбекистана. Казалось бы, расстояние 100 километров, а это уже отличительная черта. Так вот, нам достаточно, собственно говоря, перенять имеющийся опыт. Турция — колоссальный пример для нас. Мы и по климатическим условиям схожи, по ментальности, по культуре, у нас очень много общего. Поэтому по многим моментам можем, даже не изобретая колесо, просто перенять имеющийся опыт и таким образом сделать мгновенный рывок к улучшениям на имеющейся уже базе. Я имею в виду тот объем исторических памятников, культурных памятников. Нам есть что показать, мы можем это показать. Осталось только доработать технические какие-то моменты, продумать инфраструктуру, улучшить ее, и это поможет. Потому предлагаю, значит, следующий момент. Действительно необходимо повысить общую культуру населения через внесение, на мой взгляд, один из самых действенных способов – это пересмотр и улучшение программ образовательных. Причем образовательных программ не только высших учебных заведений, но и тех колледжей, которые выпускают значит, рабочую силу своих наших потенциальных сотрудников в индустрии туризма. Вот, возможно, добавление таких дисциплин, как этикет, обязательно и большой упор на знание исторических памятников и достопримечательностей. Опять же, возьмите Турцию, там каждый гражданин страны превосходно знает все туристические места. Это же не пришло из ниоткуда. Им их обучают в школе, этим гордятся, об этом постоянно рассказывают, говорят. У нас в каком-то объеме эта работа ведется, но, на мой взгляд, ее нужно вынести совершенно на другой уровень. Говорить об этом больше. Устраивать для студентов и школьников выездные экскурсии. Правда, в этом потребуется поддержка государства, и одним из решений могло бы стать следующее, когда, скажем, предприятие, служащее спонсором для подобных учебных заведений, оно могло бы получить снижение налогового бремени в каком-то объеме. Таким образом, предприятия были бы заинтересованы участвовать, а в итоге дети уже с молодых ногтей будут видеть, что у нас есть, где это расположено, и в дальнейшем могут об этом рассказать тем гостям, которые приезжают, а не просто подать им чашку чая, накормить условно, на этом все. При поддержке государства необходимо создавать центры по подготовке кадров. Что мы имеем на сегодняшний день? Колледжи, которые ориентированы на конкретные профессии, там, повара, официанта и так называемый менеджер гостиничного хозяйства. На мой взгляд, та проблема по безработице, которая на сегодняшний день присутствует, могла бы быть устранена за счет того, что за счет появления вот этих центров по переподготовке квалифицированного персонала, когда уже зрелые люди могли бы прийти в этот центр и получить другую профессию с тем, чтобы прийти и, будучи уже взрослым, созревшим человеком, работать в отеле, допустим, если говорить об отеле в частности. У нас пока, если вы обратите внимание, почему-то имеется возрастные ограничения. Рестораны пишут, допустим, официант или официантка до 25 лет. Значит, получается, человек в 30 лет не в состоянии прийти и красиво сервировать еду, конечно же, это не так. Наоборот, это можно сделать с достоинством, с таким вкусом, с таким, что ты получаешь удовольствие, когда тебя обслужит профессионал. Так что вот эта вот идея создания центров по переподготовке, либо, кстати, дополнительно, опять-таки, могли бы быть заинтересованы работодатели, если в качестве преподавателей в этих центрах привлекались бы сотрудники уже действующих успешных организаций, ресторанов или отелей. Привлечь можно нас таким образом, что, опять-таки, пообещав изменение налога, что мы будем платить меньше за счет поддержки вот этих самых центров по подготовке. Ну а источником средств, это вопрос вопросов, да, где взять деньги, может послужить тот самый $2 налог. Все знают, что мы платим $2, наши туристы, приезжающие, платят $2 за один прожитый день в Узбекистане. Сумма приличная, вот, возможно, можно было бы пересмотреть и перераспределить эти деньги каким-то образом. Ну и теперь со стороны работодателей, значит, поскольку я обещала о развитии персонала, что необходимо, в какую работу необходимо вести работодателям. На сегодняшний день два основных заблуждения присутствуют у работодателя. Первое, что новичок уже все умеет, и он не нуждается в обучении. То есть, если человек, допустим, пришел из колледжа, то он все, вот прямо он официант, его ждать, он будет обслуживать гостей. Вот. Ожидается, что они просто подготовят. К сожалению, это бывает не всегда. Все учатся по-разному, учебные программы тоже не всегда покрывают именно потребности работодателя. Второе заблуждение, что новичок будет учиться долго, много воды утечет, он набьет много шишек, что якобы ошибки неизбежны, вот, и что опыт он приобретет только путем методов проб и ошибок. Вот. Конечно же, никакой серьезный бизнес не может на авось вот так вот пустить, не может допустить ни первого, ни второго. Ошибки, допущенные персоналом, слишком дорого обходятся. Либо страдает имидж компании, либо провалены продажи, либо идут финансовые потери в связи с нанесенным каким-то ущербом. Сотрудник нанес по незнанию какой-то ущерб. И при систематических ошибках во всех этих трех направлениях предприятие может просто разориться. Поэтому действовать необходимо системно. И вот несколько моментов, которые не придуманы, они действуют в нашем отеле. Вы знаете, наш отель раньше назывался отель Интерконтиненталь. Это наработанная практика, существующая, вот, которая сделала этот бренд сильным и одним из лидеров в мире. Поэтому есть чего поучиться. Значит, следующий комплекс мер должен стать обязательным для всех компаний. Может быть, не в полном виде, может в каком-то усеченном. Но это тот комплекс, который позволяет нам на сегодняшний день, нашему отелю, быть одним из лидирующих в городе. Первое – это адаптация персонала. Необходимы какие-то действия, которые помогут человеку новому сориентироваться и приспособиться к новым для него условиям. Дело в том, что именно на первоначальном периоде очень часто компании теряют способных людей, это очень жалко. Хорошая программа по адаптации, которая включает в себя, в общем-то, ознакомление первичное, сориентировать человека, где что находится, объяснить ему все возможности этой организации, все ее услуги, сервисы и так далее. Это помогает человеку очень быстро найти себя, сориентироваться и стать уверенным. Следующая составляющая, которая, в общем-то, вытекает из первой, это обучение на местах, on-the-job training. Выполняется выделенными наставниками в течение установленных сроков и по разработанным планам. Не надо бояться слова «план», это очень условный, такой минимальный перечень тех необходимых обязанностей и действий, которые человек, в общем-то, его должность предполагает. В нашем случае план рассчитан всего на 2 недели. Для более сложной, скажем, работы ресепшн, он рассчитан на 1 месяц. Но ожидается, что по итогам месяца человека протестируют, это выявит, насколько хорошо он усвоил программу, и все. И в этом случае он более-менее к работе готов. Конечно же, подобное обучение не исключает полностью ошибки, они будут, но позволяет очень здорово их минимизировать. Мы знаем с вами, что клиентоориентированность предполагает быстрое реагирование персонала в различных ситуациях и очень часто требует проявления инициативы. Этого можно добиться прежде всего за счет подготовленности сотрудников и осведомленности их о внутренних процессах и возможностях. Только это сделает человека уверенным, и только в этом случае мы можем ожидать, что в нестандартных ситуациях, в необычных, он будет действовать и в интересах туриста-гостя, и в интересах своей собственной организации. Далее часто компании используют периодическую аттестацию, appraisal так называемый. Это тоже может послужить мотиватором к росту и поможет повысить квалификацию сотрудника. Если при этом еще и установлена система вознаграждений, и вкупе с предполагаемым ростом карьерной лестницы, вот, это, конечно же, стимулирует, и человек захочет вырасти, и он сможет вырасти. Правда, это требует беспристрастного отношения к оценке. Если при этих условиях у сотрудников в дополнение имеется реальная возможность карьерного роста, то у компании есть все шансы избежать и текучести кадров, и вырастить своих собственных компетентных сотрудников. Ну и процветать, конечно, на благо всем. Я буквально пару слов добавлю не только о развитии персонала, но и о сохранении сотрудников, удержании, есть такой термин уже в сегодняшнем мире. На сегодняшний день текучесть в отелях, если говорить о городе Ташкенте, опять-таки я соглашусь с господином Хузгулом, достаточно высокая, кочуют люди с одного отеля в другой. Так вот, избежать текучести кадров может помочь комплекс мер. На сегодняшний день очень много разработано, многое практикуется. Информация, причем в открытом доступе. Компания, которая заинтересована
в удержании сотрудников, им достаточно просто этот опыт интернациональный посмотреть, отобрать то, что приемлемо для себя, то, что не требует высоких затрат, но при этом все-таки будет отвечать запросам. Так, что это может быть? Ну вот в нашем случае, например, у нас проводятся мероприятия спортивного характера внутри отеля. Это могут быть банальные соревнования, скажем, по нардам. Какие там затраты? Затраты только на приз победителя. Нарды, шахматы, настольный теннис. В нашу команду ходят ребята, снимают, отель в свое время проплачивал, волейбольные площадки, футбольные поля, их сейчас огромное количество. Вот. Казалось бы, такое небольшое паручасовое мероприятие, оно очень людей сближает и стимулирует. Люди чувствуют, что для них что-то делается. Это позволяет потом оставить приятное чувство, что вот ты нужен своей компании, о тебе заботятся. У нас многократно проводились для детей сотрудников конкурсы рисунков или там, поделок. Опять-таки, тоже родители, которые там принесли какое-то непонятное что-то изображение, за это ребенок получил приз, очень рады, их ценят. Конечно, подобные действия в некоторых случаях подразумевают финансовые затраты, как Новый год, допустим, для сотрудников, или поездка в город. Но, по сути, это не траты, это инвестиции в чистом виде, которые, конечно же, обязательно вернутся в виде опытных сотрудников, верных, профессиональных. Вот. И получается, в заключение хочу сказать, что объединение вот этих всех усилий и действий во всех направлениях, во-первых, со стороны образовательных учреждений, со стороны работодателей и при активном участии государства, у нас даже есть конкретное ведомство Uzbektourism, мы уже в ближайшей перспективе получим результаты в виде качественного изменения в составе сотрудников сферы туризма и, как следствие, увеличения желающих прикоснуться к истории и познакомиться с нашим благодатным краем. У меня все. Спасибо за внимание. Спасибо. Если нет вопросов, я с удовольствием могу ответить. Is there any questions I can answer? Please, you are welcome. Yes, please.
Можно нас?
Конечно.
Скажите, пожалуйста, то есть самая изначальная цель – это обучение, да? То есть как бы для того, чтобы обучить кадров, адаптироваться именно в любой туристической сфере?
Нет, обучение не есть цель. Обучение – это средство к тому, чтобы достигнуть потом, получить качественно квалифицированного, подготовленного сотрудника. Обучение – это средство.
Спасибо.
Еще, пожалуйста. Спасибо большое за внимание.
Thank you very much, Ms. Alexander, for your very detailed presentation. Let me continue with our final presenter, Mr. Ashgar Mahmoud. Well, first of all, he's MDIS Tashkent lecturer and also General Director of Bukhara Travel and Tourism Company. He will present on specific factors affecting tourism development in Uzbekistan. Thank you.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The topic, as Dr. Saleh mentioned, that specific factors affecting tourism development in Uzbekistan. Basically, my purpose is not to criticize or pinpoint or anything. Just our purpose is here that how we can just point out those diseases who can really giving the hindrance or barriers to develop tourism in Uzbekistan. And I have a few slides here, and I will take your attention please as well. This is basically to see here, upper two photos is from Tashkent, modernized city. The next, if you see it here, Samarkand, Bukhara and Khiva, beautiful places, historical places over here. And I would like to start my speech. A few days back, we were in Samarkand and there was a United Nations World Travel Organization Executive Council meetings. And in inauguration speech, President Karimov actually mentioned very rightly, and he really pinpointed the point and those factors who are really giving us the problems and how we can remove that problem. So I will just make your attention again, once again. Ensuring peace and security, political and economical stability, basically tourism, which is the tourism basically mirror that reflects the level of development of economy and state. International tourism as a widespread leisure for the middle class, for example. Importance of development of tourism. These are basically the points which the President very rightly mentioned, and my speech will be based on these points. These are the figures which we are giving about the Uzbekistan tourism. Inbound tourism in 2013 made up about 22 million people in Uzbekistan, which is 2% of the GDP. And if we think about Uzbekistan, Central Asia, one of the largest countries in Central Asia, historical place, Islamic historical place, and by the population, the culture, is very rich country. But the percentage, the GDP which we are contributing, is very less. So we have to think about, first of all, this point. Export of tourists received in 2030 made up $615 million only. Rather, if you see the international tourism turnover, it is up to 4.6% the first half of 2014, which is about 22 million more than the same period of 2013. And the total turnovers was $1.4 trillion. And where we are standing and how much is the other countries are getting. This is the figure, number of arrivals from Uzbekistan. If you see here, 2004, 7, and 6, the figure of arrivals, the difference which you see, that is one of my dear friends from the Univans, their manager, Dr. Housefull, rightly said, these are visa problems. And when the visa was eased, immediately figure increased. And when the flights started to operate in different countries, for Malaysia, for India, for other countries, so the figures you will see, the pyramids, is a total difference. So one of the biggest problems which we are facing here, what I can think, is the visa regime. How we can ease that one? First of all, the visa process in Uzbekistan, it takes about 7 to 10 days, then the embassy again taking 7 to 10 days visa fee. Why we are not thinking about that, for example, for those countries who have more outbound tourism, we should attract them and to bring them in Uzbekistan. I will give an example later on, it's coming in the next slides here, and how it can give the stoppers. By the tap, you can close, water is behind, but you are not taking the water from the tap. These are basically the top 10 countries in the world. You will see here, the Thailand only Asian country in the top 10. And what the Thailand's history, again, mentions, other participants, they mentioned that we have the history, we have everything this year, but we are not nowhere in the first even 25 countries, top 10. These are basically development areas where we have to go. Visa procedures, time-consuming, lengthy, long process times. And one more point over here, why we should not develop a visa system for transit peoples. Uzbek airline strategy is that they are carrying the passenger from other countries and going like Russia, like even from Israel, people are going to Thailand through Uzbekistan. Russian people are going to other countries, Malaysia, they are going from Uzbekistan. For example, Russian is okay, no visa, but what about the other countries? Why won't they stop over and we can attract them? And we can get 1, 2, or 3 days without any visa procedures. And the adoption of getting visa on arrival. So there is 3 different kind of policies different countries are adopting. I mean, Uzbekistan get one of them. Like in Thailand, for example, Uzbek national, when they're going to Thailand, there is just an entry visa for them. $10 they have to pay, and there is entry visa, no need to get a trial visa. Second example is the Dubai. You just process a visa through any agency or the foreign office, and you will get a flex visa. I'm talking about the Asian countries and other people as well. So we can do the same thing. We can avoid that very technical system which embassies basically are getting more times. We are paying over there. And third example is the Turkey and Malaysia. No visa system for Uzbek nationals. You can just buy the ticket, and tomorrow morning, today night, you can fly over there. And that's why you see the maximum turnover of flights in Turkey, Istanbul. Every day we have 2 flights to Istanbul. This is another development areas, airport facility. If you see over here, I mean, we are spending the money maybe. If you see the airport, here it is, Kuala Lumpur, Azerbaijan, Dubai, and I think it's some more maybe. So this is the facilities. I mean, when people arrive on the immigration counters, I literally, yes, they're running, that they have to be marathons to win. Because why less counter of immigrations and long and lengthy queues. Modern international standard of airport, we have to be actually as soon as possible. Lengthy procedure before and after flights. Quite lengthy procedures. Particularly, I think as our tourist, when he's coming in Tashkent first time, it takes about more than 2 hours to get clear from the airport. Custom hall and luggage hall are in the poor conditions, one in the same place. A luggage hall and the custom hall are in the same place, and too few custom clearance counters, and again it's look like a fish market. I think we need to be lack of trolleys again. These are few actually the custom procedures. Again, Houseboat as well mentioned that the custom should be ease. I mean, we have to adopt new procedures. We have to see other neighboring countries what they are doing. I can give the example of Kazakhstan that many things, the declaration form and other things, they have removed from their systems. Road infrastructures, actually, if you see our road infrastructure, particularly I will mention here, Bukhara and Khiva, although they are going to construct once again, but we don't have international standards of roads. If you see here, Dubai is a desert basically. We call it now not Dubai, we call it Dubai. Dubai. You are going over there because you have to buy something, either from the duty free or from the city. And it's a desert, and what they're selling, I call them they're selling the sand. They don't have anything except sand. And what is the GDP to Dubai actually, not UAE? 31%. Tourism contributing, travelers contributing. So fast track roads, so Bukhara to Khiva, it takes about 8 hours to reach from Bukhara to Khiva or from Khiva to Bukhara. And of course there is no facility. And we want to sell the Great Silk Road. First of all, we have to make few products which we have to sell in the international market. One of our products is the Great Silk Road. But the Great Silk Road, the condition of the roads is not up to that level where the people can travel. So what we have to do? We have to take them by trains, by airs, or different ways. And you know that when the tourists are coming, different age of people, the luggage check-in and out is a quite hectic, trouble-making problems. All the time, you cannot make check-in, check-out, putting the luggage in the aircraft, in trolleys, in the railway station, in the buses. So once you put the luggage in the bus and the bus is going on to the route, it will be much easier for the people. So we have to think about that what level of standards we have to achieve. And second thing is that, anonymous, the Bukhara and Khiva, there is no flight, only in season 3 months. And nowadays even it is stopped. And it's quite long travel distance, so we have to operate permanently, although it could be in off-season time. But maybe domestic tourism we have to promote, and the flight system should over there. And undervalued transportation system like of tourist buses and transport during the seasons particularly. This is one of the, I think the government should give encourage foreign investment, local investors, and duty-free, tax-free kind of buses and vans and other kind of automobiles which can be used for the development of tourism. Foreign direct investments is very much important. We have to give the guarantee to the foreign investors that their money will be safe in Uzbekistan. I can give the example of the pigeons. You have to bring the pigeons one by one, but when you will disturb them, they will fly together, and it will be very difficult to bring them down again. So, foreign investment, we have to restore their confidence that yes, you can do the investment in all areas, and your investment will be guaranteed. reason which actually enormously, maybe Tashkent, we have a few good hotels. Iriman is one of them, Intershore is one of them, City Palace, but still, we don't have. Particularly if we see Samarkand, Bukhara and Khiva, Samarkand is Afrasiab and Registan, that's all. And even those hotels are not up to the international standards. So we have to make investment and we have to upgrade them. And the facilities in the restaurants, I don't want to take the names, many hotels, they don't have even proper facilities. The fitness clubs, the centers. If you go to Turkey, for example, go to Malaysia, they have a lot of animation programs for the guests in the hotels, for the kids, for other activities other than business people, other than the tourists. You have free time, you can enjoy, you can spend your time in a better way. And the price, is high. The facilities are less, standards are not that much, but the prices are quite high. In a Kuala Lumpur Marriott Westin hotel, you can get $150 to $180. But here, even international hotel, you cannot get at that price, starting from $210. Rooms are old, services poor, like this household that 11th year has gone, never repaired. International hotels, I think, same. 15 years has gone, never repaired. So many hotels, same like that. So we have to be upgraded. This is one of the again area development area where we have to pay attention. Cadres basically. Tourism industry need proper professional trainings. It's really very nice that the President Islam Karimov and his initiative, the Singapore University established a lot of students we are trained and we are basically we are working everywhere now in Diliman, in Radisson, in international hotels, but still need to open their training center. I will suggest rather to Samarkand, Bukhara and Khiva, we should open their training centers. So we can provide better product, particularly in hospitality, and particularly we can upgrade the quality standards. Rigorous training programs, for example, for that. Professional promotional activity by National Tourism Company. Not just attending the exhibitions is the promotional activities. If we see it here, the Russia, we can see it's very close to us, the 5th largest country for outbound travelers. And how much contributing? $43 billion they are spending for outbound travelers. How much we are getting from Russia? $43 billion. China, largest spenders, $102 billion. 22% up. How much we are getting from China? If even 1% will get it, it will be more than 1 billion. So we have to pay these promotion activities on these sectors. Who are the most spender? We are Uzbekistan, basically inbound. We are famous for inbound tourism. We have to bring here the tourists. So then we have to see who are the outbound generators country. We have to pay attention to those countries. Russia, for example, no visa regime, nothing. What is the percentage we are receiving? I'm sure it's not more than even 5%. And then you see the Russian tourism company should think out of the box. Not traditional way of bringing the package and sending it to us. We have to, invent or we have to innovate a lot of other packages. How to track them. Paying guest system is very famous in England as well. In European countries, people are coming and paying. And of course, the society will get the benefits and more tourists will come over here. Educational tourism. We have beautiful sanatoriums here. Why not we bring the students from Malaysia, from Indonesia, from other countries, and we can, in a summer season, we can basically accommodate them for 10 to 15 days, and we earn a lot of money from education. Malaysia is earning a lot of money from education tourism, as well England. And the second thing, that within a country who speak tourism, they must basically open information centers in each city, and particularly in the public places. In airports, no maps, no cities, no information they are provided. Right? People and tourists are asking for the maps. They have to buy from somewhere actually. Even it's not easily available. So these are information and the things which can basically are giving the interest. This is a chain of problems. And when one by one, we have to remove these chains. These are against suggestions that wide scale of celebration of different festivals. Nowruz is a very famous festival here. Why we don't celebrate internationally? Why we closed it? We should make it by public participations, and we have to invite a private tourism company. They can own the Broadway in the many roads. Uzbektourism, they should give them some incentive. They can have their own booths, their own kind of stands, celebrate fruit festival. Uzbekistan are producing amount of fruits, particularly the grapes, hundreds of kinds of grapes. Why we don't celebrate the fruit festival in summer season? We can bring a lot of tourists, and we have to basically sell the product. These are basically different suggestions. We have basically, as I understand, lack of time. So this is one last point, and which is very important one. We have beautiful ski resort in Jimha. And what percentage basically, and healthy services as well we have, but not promoted. And if you see, it's Genting Island in Malaysia, more than 6 million tourists. It's just a mountain. Same like at Sherwak. We have a lake, they don't have the lake. More than 6 million tourists we are getting. And we have 2 seasons both. And summer season for the lake and winter season for the snow. That is the product. Any question, please? Thank you very much. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ashman. I don't have a question, but I have to make a couple of comments. Reminded by Mr. Ashgar to me, I skipped, which is about training centers and universities. I think one of the aims of universities in the country must be expanding their facilities. Like Singapore University, why don't you guys have a branch in Samarkand? That's one of the activities have been done in Turkey successfully. Just like the gentleman mentioned, ski tourism and lake tourism. In particular places where tourism is possible, universities might have branches. Like we used to have the first tourism university in Antalya, where we have resorts, sandy beaches, and so a nice atmosphere. Then in Berlin, mountain areas. So if you educate people where the potential is, one day Hilton will come and open their hotel. Sheraton will come there. By that time, you will already have educated team members, human resources, so that you will not have the hassle of hiring people from Tashkent or having them transferred with huge costs. So you will already have resources there in order to achieve fantastic service. And thank you, Mr. Ashkar. Again, you mentioned about the exhibitions. Yes, I know Uzbektourism is doing very nice facilities out of the country to introduce the country in Germany, here and there. But we have a tourism fair here. Just like, just within this month we organized. My hotel was one of the participants, very good, but it's like we hosted ourselves. So it was like a meeting of Tashkent people. So I said, Farangis, look, Farangis, next year, let's get together and go to the mountains for a picnic. So if there is no international existence in fairs, it will not really help. So one of the aims of organizing these international fairs must be bringing international agencies, hotels, whatever is the institution, but there must be international existence. I don't know what the reason is, but there used to be more international agencies, as I understand, like 10 years ago. This feedback came from the travel agencies. There were Spanish people, Germans, Italians, British. So where are those people? So we need to bring them back to the fair, and we have to explain what is Uzbekistan all about, and we have to bring their guests here into Uzbekistan. So coming back to Singapore University, I'm talking about Singapore University. Why? Because it's the best sample of the country. So you need to enrich the value of the university. You can give double diploma, like joining with the Istanbul University, so which can be added value to your diploma. So you may attract more youngsters to join into hospitality study instead of everybody goes to machinery study or everybody goes to architect or being doctor or nurse. That's how it starts. So we need to, as hoteliers, also as tourism people, we need to attract the university programs by adding some value on top of them. Thank you for giving me again this opportunity. I thank you, Mr. Ashkar, reminding this point. Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me express my gratitude for very nice presentations that we had this morning. As a chair of the first part of plenary session, I would like to concentrate on some of the points that were raised by our keynote speakers. First of all, Ms. Pillai, thank you for giving a detailed picture on the influence of tourism on main economic factors, main economic indicators in Singapore. And we have a stronger awareness now on what form, in which form the contribution to the development of the sector is being done in Singapore. Thank you very much. We understand that the government plays a very special role for tourism development, and its support is truly immense in building up an infrastructure and favorable environment, not only for guests, but if needed for development of inner tourism as well. Mr. Hosku, thank you for sharing your ideas in the framework of, I would call it a constructive criticism, which is very welcome here. Of course, we understand and share the ideas with you about developing tourism industry in our country, and we hope that your suggestions on improving the sector will be heard while you are here, before you leave our country, as you said. And you will have a chance to witness these changes. We are optimistic on that. Maybe visa regulations, which were mentioned as partially as an obstacle, will be improved, will be adjusted as a growing economic tourism, and that it will create opportunities for increasing investments into hotel infrastructure, into customs service, tax benefit environment will be fostered as well. From the side of management development Minister of Singapore, Tashkent, we can assure that tourism and hospitality management Alexander in particular, thank you for your for drawing attention with this organization, remembering the importance of rendering tourism service. We of course acknowledge the need for further development of educational background, for raising awareness of people, for changing the culture, the attitude and culture of people towards tourism. This is all important. Mr. Ashka, thank you very much for your very open, very critical presentation. Of course, many of the issues that are definitely important for improving the sector. And with this in mind, I would also like to say that this infrastructure requires certain time for development. We cannot have every change immediately. Any change which is needed usually is not fundamental, especially in developing such a serious sector as tourism. So we, for example, make comparison with what we had a year ago. We can serious changes. We have still new income, foreign investors into the sector. And of course, understanding those challenges that still exist, I would like to thank you for reflecting on these developments and directions, determining factors that are affecting tourism development, outlining existing barriers. Well, as we have seen through these presentations of esteemed keynote speakers, Uzbekistan is on the path to learn a lot from practices of different countries who have developed a tourism sector to the higher levels and continue to do so. So examples include France, United States, Singapore, Turkey, Spain. We need to recognize that lots of work has been done on our government to grow tourism, to renovate, to introduce new hotels, to improve the infrastructure further. And many speakers have mentioned that Uzbekistan has a great potential. We have to keep it in mind. We have to develop further. We need to increase this kind of conversations very often. We need to continue this dialogue. And invite not only industry experts and academicians, but also representatives of government to raise awareness through this kind of research, and to further increase and promote competitiveness of this sector. Thank you very much for attending the first part of the plenary session. I'm hoping that it was valuable for all the participants. So right now, with your permission, I would like to announce half an hour of coffee break. And then the second plenary session will continue. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Rector, in particular, for inviting me and also asking me to open the second session today. It's quite an honour for me. Many of you may be wondering, what's the British Council doing here? What have you got to do with tourism? It's an interesting question, but actually we're working on tourism in many countries throughout the world. Here in Uzbekistan, the last country I was in, Indonesia, where I've just come from, I'm new in town, we have extensive programs for tourism and education. Why tourism? Well, it fits all of our traditional objectives. English language training, it's obviously key to tourism. I don't think it's the only important language in tourism. I think, for instance, Russian is very important in tourism as well. But English is undoubtedly core to the tourist education business. Also, we have always worked in higher education and partnerships between UK institutions and Uzbek institutions. We've been here for 18 years now, and we've done that right from the start. And the tourist industry is of particular priority here now in Uzbekistan, as we heard about the President's speech in Samarkand, which I also attended. It seems to be the right time, and so we're increasing our partnerships, facilitating partnerships between UK universities and Uzbek universities on research into the tourist industry. But also we work very, very closely and most successfully at the moment with the state vocational colleges. Now, I understand there's around 1,200 of those in Uzbekistan. It's a very extensive system, of which at the moment around 10 are engaged in training for the tourist industry. We work very well with those 10. We would like them to be more than 10, but we've recently managed to agree with the Ministry of Public Education the implementation of occupational service standards for tourism in the tourist vocational education systems. That's a huge step forward. It's not the end of the show. We have to make sure that those changes in curriculum are resourced properly and that teachers, lecturers are supported, that they're not just left to deal with big changes by themselves. We are working very closely with and well with the Uzbekistan government to ensure that that happens. We also work, though, on enterprise, and we have a national enterprise awards competition, which works with the entire vocational education system in partnership with the government, obviously, and UNDP, which then goes on to train these young up-and-coming entrepreneurs. That's also very closely related to tourism. So there have been some successes of late. Including last week, we held a very high-profile conference ourselves here as part of the tourism exhibition here in Tashkent last week, which was well attended. In fact, we had far more attendees than we expected. We didn't have enough chairs, so we had to go out and get a lot of chairs very last minute to seat all the people, and including, and I can see some of the delegates here today, a highly successful policy dialogue, which received quite a lot of press attention, which was, the idea was to get education and the industry together to discuss how to change the education system for tourism together. So bringing industry and education together, that's so important, and it's been an experience in the UK in the last 25 years, maybe 30 years, where industry has been working much more closely with the vocational sector to deliver graduates, people coming out of the vocational system, much better equipped for the workplace. So this is been a big move for us as well in the UK. But it's not a finished job in the UK either, but our experience and the mistakes that we've had in the UK have been very useful things for the Uzbek partners also to hear. So that's where we are at the moment. I'm hoping that during my 3 or 4 years here, as I say, I've just started. I don't know enough yet about the tourism sector or even the education system in tourism yet in those 6 weeks. However, I've learned a lot today. And I also know that the country is a jewel, that it's got huge potential, and I'm already advertising it to all my friends at home on Facebook, and everyone's saying, wow, is that Uzbekistan? I must go. It is really phenomenal, and I don't think we can exaggerate the potential here. So I'd really like to see us expand on that, but also to use the example of tourism, marrying up industry and education as a template for the other vocational sectors here in Uzbekistan. And we're thinking about engineering, architecture, or whatever. There's other sectors as well, which could usefully engage more closely, perhaps, with the employment sector. So I think that tourism, with the steps that it's already made, could be a useful template for other sectors in years to come. But also, one thing I'd like to throw in, just for thinking at this point, is how we connect with the creative industries. Because one thing about tourism is that the creative industries are very directly and hugely impactful on success of tourism. And I'm thinking in particular at the moment about film. Now, the country I was born in, Northern Ireland, has had its fair share of problems in the last 40 years, which has put off tourism and almost completely destroyed the tourism industry in the 1970s in particular, where there was a low-level civil war going on. That has been a huge problem for Northern Ireland, which is a very beautiful country to recover from. But I can tell you, the biggest impact on the Northern Irish tourist industry in the last few years was not the peace process, not the fact that it's actually a peaceful place now, but the TV series Game of Thrones, which was filmed in Northern Ireland and has directly impacted on the Northern Irish tourism industry, because everyone's wondering, where is that beautiful place? It's a mythical land, but actually it's Northern Ireland. So I'd like you to think about that and other examples. For example, the country I've just come from in Indonesia, Bali's tourism industry was also greatly damaged by the problems that Bali had in the late 90s. But the film Eat, Pray and Love greatly increased its tourism industry as well. There are several more examples I could give you on that, but I think that's enough from me. Once again, thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm looking forward to hearing the following presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marcia, for your wonderful presentation and sharing your experience and thoughts. Yes, of course, the British Council also plays a very important role in developing tourism in its term, because the language, of course, built the bridge between cultures. Thank you very much. Now, let me just introduce our second presenter, Pauljan Yunusov. He's a lead lecturer in the MDIS Tashkent, and the topic of the presentation is dental tourism in Uzbekistan. Welcome. Thank you.
So, is this on now?
Yeah.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Has anyone amongst you had a tooth problem recently?
Yes. Yes. Everyone.
So, in developed countries, the cost of dental care can be enormous. This video is a special courtesy of Stoma Service, and it reminds us that Uzbekistan is not just a place for a great holiday, but it could be the place where you could get high-quality dental care at affordable prices. So this is what this presentation is all about. Okay, so let's move to the next one. So what is dental tourism? So basically, dental tourism involves individuals traveling outside their home countries to get affordable dental care. And it's been growing worldwide. There are millions of people who travel outside their home countries to get dental treatment. Technology has played a big role in the spread of basically dental care equipment. So some countries have taken advantage of this to become low-cost providers with high quality. According to a survey of over 1,000 people, 3 out of 10 medical tourists actually are dental tourists. Medical tourists are those who travel to get medical treatment. And popular destinations include Hungary, Poland, and Turkey in Europe, and Mexico in America, and Thailand in Asia. And mostly they're seeking implants of crowns. And on average, actually, dental tourists spend more time and more money than any other category of tourists. 65% of respondents said they would actually travel again to get dental treatment. And here's the most striking statistic. More than half of them actually went for treatment to to a country they've never been before. And I think this presents us a huge opportunity. Just think for a moment. We do have modern dental clinics with the latest equipment and materials. We can actually offer the same quality service at a fraction of the cost offered at the European clinics. For example, the cost of a zirconia crown, which is the latest kind of technology, costs $150 in Uzbekistan. Compared to the US and UK, and you're going to get over $1,000. The cost savings on the dental treatment could be used basically to offset the travel costs and even, for a holiday. So the commercial benefits to the economy are obvious. So, dental clinics create jobs. Country could be positioned as a dental treatment heaven in this post-Soviet territory. And continuous development of research and expertise would lead to new investments in the area of stomatology. So, okay, but who are these people and where do they come from? I think it comes down to cost economics. If it's cost efficient for people to have both a dental treatment and a holiday, I think they could come from anywhere. But I think the most kind of potential market here is Europe, including Eastern, Western Europe, and the UK, because they have the biggest middle class, basically, families. Now, the United States page could be a really good booster. Just take a look at this example. It's just an amateur Facebook page. It has over 67,000 likes. I think we have a long way to catch up, but I think we're getting there, and I think that's going to be worthwhile. Now, in sum, I think Uzbekistan has a great potential and opportunity to become a dental tourism heaven. Okay, and we need to identify the largest potential DT markets and attract them through working with hubs such as major travel agencies, dental clinics, universities, hotels. We should promote the country both online and offline. In doing so, we should focus on social media, blogs, and search engine optimization. That's important. Now, internships could be an effective way to engage tourism students in promoting Uzbekistan online. We could produce a range of information booklets and distribute by Uzbek embassies or hotels, for example, Dedeman and others. And finally, we could run banner advertisements in major metropolitan areas, such as could be London, New York, European cities. So I think doing some of it, at least like some of the cost-efficient ones, I think will give a big boost to the economy, research and development, and the development and basically investment in this area, which we are so far have an advantage.
I think it's a very interesting idea, not only dental tourism, but medical tourism. In international business, there's a concept called the consumer's perception of the country of origin. The consumer's perception of the country of origin. How does the potential customer view the country who is going to supply them? So, for example, when we think about high-performance motor cars, we may think of the country of Germany. When we think of high-quality electronics goods for the house, we may think of Japan. For something like teeth, or for health services in general, the service is quite intangible. You can't touch it. And the problem will be, I come to some country, and I go back and my teeth are all over the place. And I wonder, just as we've been hearing, tourism needs to march forward with other subject and other industry areas, as the British Council Mark was speaking about. I wonder whether or not, in order to attract tourists to come for dental services, You need to have your dental industry recognised by some, I don't know, standard accreditation service, so that the dental services are recognised. Otherwise, with the intangibility of a service, there's a fear of the unknown. So I think there's great potential, but it isn't just about cheap cost. If I go somewhere for cheap cost, but I come back with my teeth looking terrible, it's no advantage. So you need to have this, the quality could be very good, but you need to have this standard, this count mark.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. Well, it reminds me of a chicken and egg question, because how did Germany get there? How did Swiss get there in terms of, you know, this prestige and reputation for cars or watches? They started somewhere,
yeah.
Okay? So, but I think it's a really good point in terms of getting some accreditation because it gives more credibility. However, I think we're living in an age that's much different from the 50 years or 40 years ago, where actually brands are being made or being built online. Okay, for example, a lot of companies I know actually, they actually sprung up out of nowhere. If you compare, for example, you know, Alibaba, you know, these big online companies, it's just an example. It took them much less time to develop than some offline companies. You know, some companies that actually built themselves offline. So actually, having support, for example, through social media and blogs, actually could help boost visitors to Uzbekistan, and through search engine optimization, you could actually have a good start, basically. Before you get to that level, obviously we need to work on that as well. I think international accreditation, basically becoming members of, you know, big medical sort of institutions, I think that's key. So I think I agree, yeah. Thank you.